Evening, Gooners and other animals. Hope you're doing well. I'm personally not doing so well today. Today's been pretty horrible, and the reason for that is last night. I'm going to talk at length, I think, about last night. I'm still really angry about it. I'm still really miffed, really upset, and there's loads of stuff I need to get off my chest. Just as a pre-warning, there will be so much swearing in this video tonight, so if you don't like that sort of stuff, it's probably best you don't watch any further. I'll do my usual. If you do like what you see, feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, all that stuff is greatly appreciated. And I'm getting close to being monetized now. Turns out I've only got 963 subscribers to get. Then I can get monetized, and then I can get rich, and I can stop working. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm laughing about. I'm going to get straight into it. Talk about last night's game. Then I'm going to round off with some amusing anecdotes from some of the banter that I'll get off my 9-year-old daughter, which actually made me laugh the other day, but we'll get to that at the end. Right, so we'll start with last night's game. I woke up this morning and it was like I did comment on Twitter earlier that it felt like, when you're younger and you go out and you get really stupidly pissed, and you wake up the next day and all of a sudden this thing just flashes into your brain and you're like, oh fuck, what did I do that for? Well, I woke up this morning and I was like, oh fuck, Brentford. And I've not got over it or recovered from it all day. I've been in such a bad mood. I've just been really down about everything. And it's not that I got really drunk and did anything stupid last night. It's just that it was very bad. And there's so many different things I need to talk about regarding last night's game. I'm going to start with Aubameyang and Lacazette, and the story that the club came out with was that they were both unwell or not well enough to play. And I remember from Arteta's pre-match interview, they asked him and he said they're both unwell. I can't really say any more. And it's almost like there was a bit of a smirk. So it felt a bit like he knew that all of us listening to that weren't going to buy it. I'm certainly not buying it. I mean, there's a 5% chance it might be true. They may both be unwell. It's clearly not a COVID thing, because I think there would at least be a moral responsibility from the club to put that out and state that, to say that neither of them's well enough to take part in the game. It's just, on the afternoon of the first game of the season, it's ridiculous. There's so many stories floating around that maybe the two of them had a falling out, that maybe one of them's been sold and the other one's thrown his toys out because they're best mates, even though they can't fucking play together very well on the pitch. Something's gone on behind the scenes. But the thing that bothers me is if it's something that they've done which shows poor attitude, poor personality, poor character, and they've done something stupid, then they've literally let everyone down. They've let their teammates down, the manager, the club, all us fans, and most importantly, they've let the teammates down. That's they've left everyone right in the shit, if my suspicions are true. And I remember when the team came out and you had Flo Balogun and Gabby Martinelli in the starting lineup. I was really excited by that, because I thought, we're going to do some stuff with a little bit of pace. But it became really quickly apparent, especially with Flo Balogun, that the kid ain't ready to be starting Premier League games. He's got so much talent, and we fought hard to keep him last season. And he's got so much potential, but he's not ready. to be starting a game of that magnitude. Maybe come on for the last 15-20 minutes when he's fresh and legs of defenders are starting to get weary. But it's really not fair for a player of his age to be put in that situation. I know he's essentially the same age as Gabby, Bukayo Saka and ESR, but Bukayo Saka especially is, he's different. Balogun looked a little bit lost, to be honest, and not out of his depth as such, but he was being really well marshalled, and he hasn't yet got the experience or the game time to be able to impact on a Premier League game right from the start. Excuse me. I feel that if Aubameyang and Lacazette have done something stupid, they've let an awful lot of people down. And ain't the first time Aubameyang's let people down, to be honest. I'm a little bit done with him now. I gave him all of last season. I didn't entirely back him all season, but when people were saying that he's got off the ball since he signed his new contract, I didn't buy into that. I thought it was a really shockingly bad thing to say, but in the fullness of time, maybe there is some semblance of truth to what those people were saying a while ago. Anyway, time will tell. Time will tell. I'd like to move on to Ben White next. I've been a really, really vociferous supporter of Ben White and the transfer, and I love the guy. I think he's a brilliant player, and he had a tough night last night. I don't think he had I'm not saying he had a bad game. He had a tough game, and he was put under a lot of pressure. And when you've got someone like Ivan Toney, who's not renowned for his aerial ability, putting Ben under the pressure he was under, you've got issues. That's not what Ben White was bought for. Ben White was bought for his positional sense, his leadership qualities, the way he brings the ball out of defence, the fact that he can make an interception before he's even got to make a tackle. I think he's a top quality player, and he's still very young, and he will become even better. But I think he was let down quite badly by the players around him. Namely, Callum Chambers had a terrible game. Mari had a terrible game. Bernd Leno seems to be making exactly the same mistakes he was making in November of last season, and he ain't learning from it. Now, I don't know what sort of... Actually, I'll go into that in a bit. I just want to say that Ben White, in his pre-match interview, he highlighted the differences between playing in a back five, or a back three as he called it, or a back four, and the fact that if he's playing as part of two central defenders or three central defenders, it's more difficult for him to bring the ball out effectively when he's one of two, because there are less people to cover him, unless you have a structure in place where your defensive central midfielder is going to drop in when you move out with the ball. If he's playing in a back three, he's already got those two central defenders to sit in for him, and he highlighted that, and that's literally one of the best parts of his game, is how good he is coming out with the ball. His distribution is brilliant, whether it be a 5-10 yard ball or pinging a 30-yard diagonal. The guy's got the lot as far as bringing the ball out goes. So for him to be playing in a part of a two central defender deal as opposed to three of them, that doesn't seem to be playing to his strengths. And the worry I've got, once Gabriel comes back, then he's the guy to go forward and win the ball in the air. But Pablo Mari is not especially any better than Ben White is in the air. And next weekend we've got Chelsea and new signing Romelu Lukaku coming to the Emirates. What do you think they're going to do? I know on Sky Sports News or Sky Sports last night after the game, they were saying the same thing, and I was thinking it as the game was going on. It's like, he's going to get targeted until Gabriel comes back and becomes the man to go forward and win the aerial battles and let Ben White pick up the pieces. He's going to be stranded. He's going to be very isolated like it was last night, and he's going to come up against better strikers than Ivan Toney with a far greater aerial threat the knee carries. Like I said, you've got Lukaku, somebody like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He will be targeted until something changes in the structure of our defending. It's not all bad. I would like to focus on the players that I thought were impressive last night. ESR was brilliant all throughout the game. He carried the threat whenever he could, and he was the one shining light when it came to moving the ball forward quickly and trying to break through the lines. KT done as well as he could as well. I don't think it was his greatest game, but he was under a lot of pressure, and the press that Brentford put on was really, really good. So, like I say, KT, not his best game, but still a very, very good game. Bukayo Saka, when he came on, he always carries a threat. And the other one is Sambi Lokonga. Excuse me. I watched him and I paid a lot of attention to him in the game against the other lot last weekend. And I made a comment on Twitter saying that it reminded me a little bit of when Patrick Vieira made his debut against Sheffield Wednesday all those years ago. And he came on as sub. I remember it quite well. And instantly he slid straight in and he looked like he'd been there for years, looked like part of the furniture. I get the same feeling with Sambi. I'm not comparing him to Patrick Vieira because Vieira's like just different beans entirely, probably the best all-round midfielder I've ever seen play for Arsenal. But Sambi has done really, really well. Bearing in mind he's 21, he wasn't expecting to be, a linchpin of our midfield. He was expected to probably be a backup for Thomas Partey, but he's in there, and he was outshining his more experienced midfield teammates yesterday. The other ones I don't really want to discuss, to be honest, because there was an awful lot that made me very, very unhappy yesterday. I'm going to move on now to Mikel Arteta. Now, I've said before, I've been Arteta in for the longest time, and I'm not saying that I'm Arteta out now after just one game. Excuse me. But the biggest favour he was done last season was there being no fans in the grounds. And next weekend is going to potentially have a full Emirates with us going against the champions of Europe with a brand spanking shiny new £97 million striker, which funnily enough they flogged for a fraction of that quite a few years ago to Everton. But anyway, I'd said at the start of the season I would give him till Christmas before I pass judgment, and I want to see improvements. Now I know he's so far been let down in the transfer market, but he still doesn't seem to be getting the best out of his players. I remember the West Ham 3-3 last season. After the game, he openly said the players didn't carry out his game plan, yet he's still picking the same players. And he's saying last night, especially with reference to their second goal, that we have the players to do the job, but they just didn't do the job. So this is the first game of the season, and the players aren't doing what he's asking of them. Now that to me is a massive, massive problem. Because looking at last night's game, if we carry on playing the same insipid displays, devoid of any intensity or passion, and this slow tempo, so like that I watched last night, that's relegation football. And I'm trying not to sensationalise it too much because it's the first game, but it really was that bad. It really was that bad, and I don't know if the club's done their research on Brentford, but they should have known what to expect. We were always going to be in a battle, and personally, I wasn't massively surprised that we lost. I think we were probably the best team Brentford could have faced of all the big teams or big clubs. We were always the ones that they were going to roll over with their passing and their pressing. But Arteta's got a lot of work to do. He's in a lot of trouble at the moment, and the Arteta out stuff will probably be starting in earnest, like in person, when we play Chelsea at the weekend. Because I don't think he's going to get through that game without there being any banners or any booing. I don't know if the Kroenke out protest is going to start up again. One thing I would hope for is that I don't want to see people protesting against the manager in the ground while the game's going on, because I don't see what good comes of it. It don't help the team. And surely if you're paying all that money to go and support our club, baying for the manager's head while the game's going on, that's just, what good is that going to do? Don't do any good at all. Just fucking, I don't give a shit. No one's going to listen to me anyway, but just fucking don't do it. It's stupid. If you're going to protest about anything, protest about the next people I want to talk about. I'm going to put them in the same bracket here. You've got Edu and the Kroenkes. Now, famously, last summer, Josh Kroenke said, be excited. Well, I'm still waiting. All I've seen of Edu is the pictures of him on holiday for 4 or 5 weeks. I was on Cannon Chatter last week. I said, I hope when I'm seeing pictures of him mincing around with a fucking cocktail glass in his hands on a yacht in San Tropez, wherever he's been, I hope he's sat there having a pie with the people he needs to be talking to, whether it be somebody who's got an interest in buying one of our players or someone we've got an interest in buying. Because I don't want to see pictures of this bloke on holiday. He can go on holiday in the middle of the season when the transfer window's closed. This is where he earns his crust, where he earns his wage. And I'm happy with the 3 players we've got in so far, and I knew this summer transfer window was going to be different because of the Euros. It's always going to be a little bit fragmented, and no one's really going to get any business done before that happened, because it was literally right on the arse end of the season finishing. But from everything else, we all see the rumours, and the old ITKs on Twitter always banging on, we've been linked with this, we've been linked with that. So like, you look at some of the rumours that have been floating around. The Maddison one, I really don't see that happening now. Now we're talking about, we've been working on Odegaard all summer, and he's always been the number one target for us, which, I'm still jury out on Odegaard. He showed glimpses last season, and, we might, once he, beds in, and he probably didn't get a chance to get used to the speed of the Premier League, if I'm going to cut him some slack here. But he's not top of my list, especially when you've got the end of last season, Yves Bissouma, brilliant player. He's, the tempo and the intensity he plays with, and he's Premier League proven, and the guy's an absolute fucking monster. And at the end of last season, all he's doing on his socials, he's like doing selfies with, cunningly located Arsenal merch. Bit like, he might as well have been sat there with a Smith Rowe top and a Rocky programme behind him. That's the sort of stuff he was doing. He clearly wants to come and play for Arsenal. I don't know if any contact's been made with him. Husamawa, it looks like he really wants to come. Bloke's a fucking bargain compared with what they were asking for last year. And it seems like he's prepared to come and play for us. I know Tammy Abrams wants to come. He's been quite vocal about, I'm a lifelong Arsenal fan, but aren't they all when they want to come? Now, I don't put him in the same bracket as Petr Cech, David Luiz, Willian. It's not the Chelsea Pensioners Club, but he's still a Chelsea reject, and he's still in worth 40 million. Looking at what we've got up front at the moment, we've got the 2 old boys that are doing whatever they're doing. Eddie Nketiah's injured, and he was probably our best striker in pre-season. And then you got Flo Balogun, Gabby Martinelli, maybe Pepe as a striker at push, or Bukayo could play there. We've got no fucking strikers. We're a game into the season, and we're already down to the bare bones. Thomas Partey's out for God knows how long. It's like, come on, give us a break. Fucking Ben White gets injured, or Bernd Leno gets injured. That's another thing. Goalkeeper. Why have we not got a second choice goalkeeper in? We've got Runarsson. Seriously. This should have been done ages ago. I'm not pleased we've stopped looking at Ramsdale, because I think as a number 2, he's great. And from everything I've read about people in the know, I don't really know about goalkeeping, but with a decent goalkeeping coach behind him, he's got a real future. But the money that Sheffield United are after is just it's just fucking crazy. It's like paying 34 million for Kieran Trippier, for fuck's sake. Another thing, right back. This is going back to Arteta actually. Right, so on the bench yesterday, got Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Hector Bellerin, Cedric Suarez, all proven right backs. All right, Hector Bellerin is nowhere near what he was 5 years ago. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is probably pound for pound our best right back. He's sat on the bench. Callum Chambers starts. No real problem with that. Callum Chambers is, solid. But then he goes off and Arteta brings on Tavares, who is a left back. It's like, you've got 3 right backs on the bench. What's your thought process? Now, like I say, I've always backed Arteta. He's new. He's literally an apprentice. I mean, taking Arsenal on as your first management job, that takes bollocks. But then, to my way of thinking, he got the job because he was the cheapest option. I don't know who else we were looking at, but Allegri was one of the names in there. Do you honestly think Allegri would come here and take the same wage that Arteta's agreed to? Of course not. And Arteta seems like he's really struggling. I've said all along I want him to succeed, and I do want him to succeed because I think his heart's in the right place. I think he's got potential as a manager. And I don't want to see us sack him and then 5 years later, when he's proven himself somewhere else, he's there lifting the fucking Champions League. And a lot has been said, a lot of people said, Jurgen Klopp took 3 or 4, maybe 5 seasons to get things right at Liverpool. But Jurgen Klopp was already proven at Dortmund. That's different beans. Arteta's still an apprentice, but he is still making the same fucking mistakes. And it does feel a little bit to me like I hate to say it, but it's a little bit like he's lost the dressing room because the players don't seem to be working. The only thing I ask as an Arsenal fan is I want to see these players play with the same passion and intensity that any of us lot would do if we were good enough to be putting that kit on and wearing that badge. Because it's an absolute fucking privilege to play for Arsenal. It's a privilege. We're not a great team at the moment. We're still a massive club, and we've got a massive fan base, so much history, and to be good enough to be able to represent my club is a huge privilege. That's about all I have to say on that. I've digressed. I was talking about Eddie and the Cronkies. Cronkies, I don't even know where to go. I thought when we dropped 50 million on Ben that's surely not the only big signing we're going to make this season. That's got to be a sign. That's like a declaration of intent. Like, we're going out, we're getting this kid for 50 million. We're going to keep going, and we're going to invest heavily, because that's where Arteta's been let down. And I remember having a conversation with G from Cannon Chatter a little while ago, and he said that he wants to see Arteta fully backed in this window, because then come Christmas time, we can properly judge him. If these are our 3 signs, we don't get anyone else in, or we panic buy and get players who are probably no better than what we've already got, you can't fully judge Arteta, and he may get the sack if the footfall drops at the Emirates. That seems to be what the Cronkies care about. That's what happened with Unai Emery. People stopped going, and then he got the flick. And bear in mind, Unai Emery has now turned a squad which is no better than the one that we had in his time, probably no better than the one that we've got now. But he's got them playing well, very, very well. So that has to make me think it's down to the character of our players. He's just won the Europa League, beat Man United on pens, pushed Chelsea to pens the other night in the Super Cup. He's done something right there. Yet when he was our manager, we had 34 shots against us by Watford in one game. It was not even over 2 games, in one game. yet he's built a really solid defensive unit there that wants to work for each other. So, you know, figure that one out for yourself. I don't really know what else to think about it. The big thing for me though is I am so unbelievably sick and tired of watching this lot put the shirts on and run around like they care about the badge, but then there's no passion, there's no intensity. Like I keep saying, those are the things for me. Tempo. You look at the best teams in world football at the moment, they're playing with a high tempo, and I cannot believe that we went to Brentford last night knowing that it was their first time in the top flight for 74 years. Last time they played in the top flight was against us, and their first game back is against us. They got a brand new stadium that's only been there a year or two. This was going to be the first game where they've got a full house, and I've got to say, when I heard them all singing Hey Jude, I got massive goosebumps all over. It was lovely to see, but we should have been ready for that. We should have been prepared for that, but we weren't. How are we not prepared for that? You know, sometimes these fixtures get thrown up, and you think, like I said earlier, so it's almost like someone's gone, right, who's one of the big clubs that we can send to Brentford for the fairy tale game, and they can turn them over? Who's going to be the easiest for them to turn over? Everyone in that room would have gone fucking Arsenal easily, because the players do not put enough fucking metal on the pitch. They leave far too much on the pitch. They are not prepared to get themselves hurt. They're not prepared to fucking run. It's like, I just want to see. I want to see 11 players like Emile Smith-Rowe get the ball and they want to fucking go at them and they want to beat a man and they want to get forward instead of bottling it, which is what it is. When Granit Xhaka gets the ball, I know he's not the fastest, but he's a professional footballer at the end of the day. Why can't he drop a shoulder and try to wrong foot someone just to get past them? Instead, he'll fucking turn back. He'll play a backwards pass or a sideways pass. And that, to me, is bottled it. The best teams are playing with high tempo. We're trying to play, whether it be by design or default, we're trying to play this slow tempo game like we're good enough to control the tempo of a game. We're not good enough to control the tempo of a game. We're not Barcelona of 10, 15 years ago. We're Arsenal today, and we are not fucking good enough to do that. And when you're in a small compact stadium like Brentford's, with a small compact pitch against a team who is renowned for their pressing and their passing, all you can do is match their intensity and hope you come out of it with a result. Now, I know the 2 goals were suspect. I think the Callum Chambers clearance was off. I think it was a foul on Leno. But agreeing again with the 2 fucking idiots that were talking about the game afterwards, if the geezer's all over you, shove him. You know, goalkeepers don't get done for fouls unless you're Harold Schumacher or whatever his name was. You know, it just doesn't happen. And I'm going to move on to Sky Sports now, because a couple of my mates said a few things. I got absolutely brutalised last night in one of the WhatsApp groups I'm part of. One of them, Man U fan, said Emile Smith-Rowe is wasted at that club. And I was furious when he said that. I was really, really, really angry with it. But then afterwards I think, I can't really argue with that. Not on last night's performance. It was too good for us. Way too good for the other players around him, most of them, with the exception of the ones that I've named earlier for praise. And then one of my other mates this morning, a Spurs fan. Oh God, I just uttered the word. He said, do you think Sky have anything to do with the scheduling of the fixtures? And I was like, yeah, I've thought about that before. He's, like I say, he supports the other lot, and you've got the thing with Harry Kane at the moment. Is he going City? Is he not? He's Spurs' first game against Man City. So that there's like, maybe. And then, like I said just now, with Brentford's first ever game at their new stadium with a capacity crowd, their first time in the top flight for 3/4 of a century. Who should we put them against? Who's the team with the softest underbelly? Well, it's us. We've got no fight in us. So then I think, yeah, maybe they have. I don't remember there ever being a North London derby first game of the season. I don't ever remember 2 promoted teams playing each other first game of the season. So maybe there is something in that. I don't know. I want to talk about the people that were on the show last night. I'll start with Ian Drury. When he said Ian Wright, I mean, he sort of, Ian Wright got picked out in the crowd, and he spoke about him. Now, don't get me wrong, Wright is one of my top 5 Arsenal players ever. Absolutely love the bloke. But for a professional commentator on Sky Sports to actually say Ian Wright, Arsenal's record goal scorer, so it's like people who don't know much about football or much about Arsenal know that he's not our top goal scorer. We all know it's Thierry Henry, and it's not even like it's a fine margin. There's 43 goals between the two of them. It's like, do your research, mate. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then, Jamie Carragher. Where do I begin with him? It's like, I know lots of people say there's agendas against Arsenal, like with VAR last season. People commentating on BT Sports, and now we got this bloke. And the fact that he actually laughed when Brentford scored their second goal, and just so many other comments, so many just pointed remarks that he was making. I think there's an agenda, and he was actually more anti-Arsenal than Gary Neville, for crying out loud. Now, if it goes back to when we were in our pomp, the Invincibles and everything, if anyone's going to have a problem with Arsenal, it should be Gary Neville. He was playing for our rivals. Liverpool weren't our rivals. There was one season they were closer to relegation than they were to us when we won the league. So, what's the issue? Is it because of when Thierry sent you to the carp in 2004 and you spun around and you fell into Sammy Hippie or whoever it was? It's like, you shouldn't be commentating if you're supposed to be an impartial expert analyser. And that's not what I saw last night. It's not what I heard last night. And I've got to be honest with you, Jamie Carragher, I fucking hate you. I literally hate your guts right now. Might sound a bit strong, but like I said, I'm really still furious about everything last night and everything's gone on in the summer. And that's another thing with the transfers. So I know we've got 17 days to go. This should be done. We've started the season now. Even if we get players in now, even if it's somebody who's already been around the club like Odegaard, they've got to get it. They've got to get bedded in. They've probably got to go through isolation and COVID tests. And then they've got to relocate. If they're family men, they've got to get their wife and their kids and everyone over here, and they've got to settle in. Do you think they're going to hit the ground running? If we sign someone tomorrow and they're in the lineup for Chelsea, do you think they're going to be absolutely set up for that game? Of course they're not. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, I'm just so upset and fed up with it all at the moment. That's about it for my Arsenal related rant and Foulmouthed tirade. I'm going to talk now about my hair. I had a cut recently. I've had it in Alice band mostly, but then I decided to put it in like a Jack Grealish style one, and it looks alright. I haven't got it like that tonight. I've just washed it and all that, so I just got it styled. But I was wearing my elasticated hairband the other day for work, and one thing I will say for Jack Grealish, right, it's loads easier having your hair like that when you got your hair a bit longer, so it's not flopping in your face. Put one of them on, keeps all the hair out your face. You don't think about it for the rest of the day. It's absolutely brilliant. But I'm putting that on. And Dempsey, my 9-year-old, she comes up to me and she's like, "Daddy, you look well sus." So what do you mean I look sus? She says, "You look like that football bloke." I went, "What, Jack Grealish?" She went, "Yeah, but if he was old and pregnant." And I just wanted to share that here because that really, really made me laugh. And I'm going to end there because I think that's a fairly decent note to finish on. I would like to bid you a good evening, good afternoon, or good morning wherever you are. Like I said, if you like this video, if you're still watching it at this point, that is, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to this little channel, and hit that notification bell if you can. Be much appreciated. Anyway, be good, and I'll catch you next time.